We're good to go. You're good to go. Let's get this started. Welcome to my patch 9.9 note patch note rundown. Is this correct? Do they always do it with an S and lowercase? Wait, now I have to look at this again. Hold up a second. Not I have to look at some old ones. Oh, you thought I wouldn't catch that shit, Riot Games? Are you serious? It's not capitalized. Who the hell edits for this, man? Pay me that rate. Anyways, welcome to the patch 9.9 patch note rundown. Today we'll be talking about what happens after MSI. So this is the preseason patch almost. And that's what they say right here. Welcome to the biggest patch of the year so far. Excellent. We're seeing huge changes in Aatrox and top Kench, champions who relied on specific aspects of their kit to dominate in some skill brackets of play, make them suffer in others. Soraka's another one we're evaluating, yada yada yada. We're adjusting a wide assortment of runes, yada yada. Get ready for one of the longest reads of your week. Yes! This is all AdSense money. Let's go. Okay. Champions, Aatrox. Holy shit. Oh my god. Okay, this is like a couple paragraphs long. Passive now heals Aatrox and mutilation removed. Attack Q cooldown adjusted, damage increased, W flattened, E cooldown increased. E heal triggered adjusted, revive no longer baseline, takedowns now extend, R enable revive, movement speed adjusted, increase healing. What the okay, let's keep going. I don't know what is going on, so let me read what they're gonna say. Says Aatrox has settled into a diving one-shot playstyle that's protected by guaranteed safety of a revive. Correct. Rather than number 20 to make the revive less powerful, we're making mechanics change across the board to even the scales between reliable power that's valued in pro and power that's more fitting of the Aatrox fantasy. Most notably, the revival on his ultimate is much less reliable, freeing up a lot of room to give him buffs. Cool. Okay. Not reliable ulti, other stuff. Towards a more bruise rate, drain, tanky playstyle, his list of strengths will include more than one all-in dive combo. Okay, whatever. His health regen got lowered to 3. They not only he has stupidly low health regen, probably one of the lowest in the game now. Cool, let's keep going. No longer reduces healing and shielding on champions. Okay, I think that's nice. Heals Aatrox for bonus physical damage dealt. Oh, okay. The bonus damage is attached to his random auto. Every couple of seconds. Cooldown's 15 seconds. It does 5 to 10% of target's max HP instead of 8 to 16. This was actually a huge deal. Similar to Jarvan passive, it is a lot of extra damage that you kind of didn't expect. The fact that it mutilated as well made it pretty powerful, especially during all-ins. 2 seconds per attacker ability on enemy champions, large monsters per champion hit with the edge of Darkened Blade. And large monsters? Huh. Okay. Maximum damage versus monsters is 100. And that's a huge nerf. Attack frame adjusted to better match Aatrox's basic attacks. Okay. So he gains healing through his passive now, and it comes back on cooldown a lot more. When you're hitting your shit, you get more passive procs consistently throughout a long, shorter period of time. Cool, got it. Also heals you instead of mutilates you. Got it. After Q3 cast or after Q cast window expires. Okay, this is a big deal. So this is like they also made the cooldown. Holy shit, they have the cooldown, but they made it so you couldn't stack the Darkened Blade. Kind of like how Riven can prep her Q right now, to where after you just hold on to the Q to threaten it, and then because it goes on cooldown after the first cast. I think this is a good way to nerf abilities like this. But they made it the cooldown half as long. Definitely a nerf early game. Maybe buff later. We'll see. Yeah, Ribbon players do this a lot, and Aatrox players do it, but it's a lot less noticeable. Infernal Chain slows 25% of all ranks. I actually like this a lot. So you're maxing W usually at the end of everything, and sometimes early it's hard to guarantee that the W hits. A lot of times you didn't want it, or forces them to get in if you hit like a good angled one. I think that's pretty good. That because a lot of his power before was that he like essentially one shot you, and I don't mind that you buff this a lot, especially if you're adjusting everything else. The cooldown for this goes up by 8 seconds though. Holy shit! Level 1 he has a 26-second cooldown on a ranged skill shot that hits one target. Okay, well that's kind of insane. Sometimes you see Infernal Chains being used the last hit on Aatrox. You're probably gonna see that a lot less, or you're gonna get punished for it a lot more. Holy moly, his early laning is really bad from what I've seen so far. This nerf. Let's keep going. Emerald Dash no longer grants free attack damage for 1.5 seconds. Okay. Any non-periodic damage versus champions. Okay, so it's any damage, not just physical, and no dots. Okay, so Ignite doesn't. Okay, sure. It's so you don't heal off Ignite. Yeah, but that's kind of interesting. But sure, this is a huge nerf. They're nerfing so much AD off of it. Because the only way you get in with Aatrox initially is, here's what happens. You Q3, or you use your first Q, and you tipper them, or you E to tipper them. And then you do like the QW to hit them with the second. Oh, it's usually you Q3, you don't E. You hit them, and then you set yourself up for the second Q, plus the W, plus the E to close in. So that you hit them to get the mini knockup. They're slowed, and they're inside a circle that drags them back in for your third Q. So your E is like a very pivotal part of your all-in rotation, and the damage does add up. So this is quite a big nerf, especially because I think everyone's at maxing E second as well. World Ender, taking lethal damage, no longer revives unless takedowns extend World Ender by 5, refreshes movement speed, allows Aatrox to revive upon taking lethal damage. Okay, this is decays over the duration, so he moves faster for longer, but not at the initial cast of the ability. Okay, he no longer removes fear. He receives increased healing during what? Why? I guess it fits his tanky playstyle more. That's a lot of increased healing. What if you're running something like Aatrox Soraka? He just is unkillable? I kind of like it. It's interesting. On cast, cooldown starts on cast, so he comes back earlier, and the cooldown goes shorter, so you're able to use World Ender a lot more. Okay, the cast time got decreased a lot. The slow during revive means you can't move because it's a 99% slow, and it revives with guaranteed 30% Aatrox max health. Okay, so let's take this a little bit. Let's just take this and try to make something out of all the numbers we just saw. So they're trying to make him a tanky healer at 6. Where he doesn't do as much consistent damage, tanks for a lot longer, and is a bigger bruiser during the team fight. Got it. Usually how you play Aatrox right now is you do one rotation, and then hopefully you kill someone or chunk someone by that rotation, kind of run around in circles, and then when your second rotation comes in, boom, like that's when you lay the smackdown and your ulti's done. So that's how Aatrox kind of works right now. It looks like if you're able to continually put pressure on people and continually extending the World Ender takedown, not only you get like a huge amount of move speed, it keeps extending by 5 seconds, so you become like a pretty strong cleanup champion. It looks like the trade-off for this was they ended up nerfing a lot of his laning phase. The interesting stuff is that the healing given by his passive is probably more valuable than the damage done if he changes from like more of a aggressive all-in champion to like more of a sustain oriented champion. This seems pretty good because he can heal off stuff that's not just champions anymore, right? But yeah, it looks like he got nerfed in lane a lot for his compensated, like, I guess, team fight tanky prowess. It's really interesting. I don't usually in today's meta, your laning phase is super important. Like, you don't have games where you're like, okay, we're gonna wait till 20 minutes, we're gonna wait for our 2-item spike, we're gonna crush these guys. It's like, no, if your champion can't do anything by the first item, you're not a good champion. And the first 6 levels tends to matter quite a bit, especially around Scuttle. I think that, especially with the health regen nerf, he gets a lot weaker in lane. This might make him just a lot, like, too hard to be able to get to your ulti to be able to play the game. Especially because I feel like Aatrox doesn't necessarily do very well against the champions that want to just dive him. Stuff like Riven, stuff like Aatrox, sorry, not Aatrox. Stuff like Jax, for instance, are champions that I feel like Aatrox doesn't want to fight against, and those are very, very meta champions. Really as well. And so I think he doesn't seem the new changes to make him weaker in lane seem very bad for him in the current state of the game. However, if you do get out of lane and you get the team fights, it seems like during team fights you get rewarded a lot more for playing the champion, especially on certain comps, especially like comps which can heal you, or like with Nidalee and or Soraka, you'll do very well on. So yeah, seems like weaker in lane, and it's probably going to be weaker overall as a champion due to that fact. You might switch to something that you use to counter pick certain champions. Definitely something that's still going to be fairly good into tanks, for instance. All right, well, let's keep going. Blitzcrank. This champion is super fun, but feels kind of outdated. His W ends up slowing him a lot, and honestly, kind of usually a lot of Riot's champions designs now don't have a weakness tied into a strength. If that makes sense. Blitzcrank really feels a little bit archaic in that sort of sense, especially with like his 3 Qs he's allowed to use before he goes kind of stuff. So what do they do? One interaction up his non-existent sleeve, or modernizing his interactions with champions, giving him more to do with his hook is on cooldown. Okay, so he got a lot of VSX effects. Cool. He looks and sounds cooler. Got it. He gets 30% of Blitzcrank's maximum mana. That's really interesting. It means that you can even if you're low on mana, you can stay and get a humongous mana barrier, and it makes like the meme-oriented builds of going tier blitz like a little bit better. Rocket grab, sure. More VFX. What? I thought they would buff something on alongside of this. So his ulti, his ulti is off cooldown. Off cooldown. Oh, this is interesting. Sorry. I thought it said on cooldown. It does the same exact thing. It just doesn't randomly arc. So you're not able to control where it targets by autoing stuff and eing stuff. It means that you can express your skill a little bit more, and you get a lot less RNG for it. You also get a slightly more AP scaling on the initial marks, which seems like I'm gonna go full AP blitz at some point. He doesn't push the wave randomly as well. It doesn't randomly aggro Baron as well when you're trying to clear wards in the pit or dragon. So that's really nice. I like the fact that there's more skill expression. I think that's a great thing. I do like the passive change as well. I think they could give him a little bit more, to be honest. I don't care that he's like a very old champion. I don't care that he's simple to play. None of that. I do think, however, that he could use slightly more buffs. Maybe in terms of just stuff like base stats would make him slightly better to play. But maybe Riot doesn't want to do that because he is somewhat oppressive when he's ahead. Okay, Recon. Base health, armor, magic. Holy, what the? Alright, so they ended up buffing all of his base stats. Base attack damage decreased, W dash damage increased, R adjusted. Okay, yeah. So this is the Recon killer. Let me talk to you about Recon, because I've heard about these changes before, because people come into my chat, Recon main, by the way, and tell me, my champion is dead, it's broken, yeah. I get it. You're attached to a champion because you sleep on mic with your girl, and you guys both play bot lane. I get it. It's not a big deal. The biggest thing about Recon is the type of engage on the champion is really, really impossible to balance. And I've had problems with this for a long time. Like, the biggest thing is that people, even when Riot tried to balance the movement speed of the W, was it? People got so pissed. They're like, oh my god, I can't believe they lowered the move speed. This champ's unplayable now. And it's like, the reason why they had to do that was they introduced a super broken initiation into the game. Recon initiation was, and still kind of is, one of the best initiations in the game, and it's undodgeable. Even at a professional level, playing against insane players, the crazy ass mechanics, you can't really dodge Recon ulti. If they decide to flash ulti W, you're dead. Like, you can maybe do it after the nerf where they slowed it down, but for the most part, it was impossible. It's not like Malphite ulti, which is really telegraphed, and still considered, before that point, to be one of the best ultis in the game. Recon was just, by far, the best initiator in the game. And that's honestly a big fucking problem because of the type of initiation was so consistent, and it was. If you guys don't remember, when Recon came out, dude, this champion won a world skin because he was just so good. He was played in almost every game, and even when he got nerfed, like people still ended up playing him here and there. This champion is super problematic because of how powerful his initiation is. Riot had to nerf his base stats so much that he was pretty much unplayable in lane until he got out of lane. Sorry, 2 world skins. So for me, Recon is kind of the example of Riot fucking up because the initiation level that Recon brought should never have been allowed in the game. Because the level of counterplay, like people complain about like Rengar one-shot and you, Recon one-shots your team, like straight up. Or sets up the one-shot on your team. And like for some reason, like people don't really complain about this, and I don't really know why. I guess it's more obvious when an assassin kills you, and not as obvious, I guess, when Recon does it. But there's a reason why this champion was like super stupid in pro play and only saw less play because he got nerfed so much. So that's my whole rant about Recon. I think his level of initiation never have been brought into the game, and that they had to finally disjoint his initiation twice now. This is the second time they've had to do it because they realized that like they shouldn't have done that in the first place. Cool, let's go. So they're rebuffing a lot of his base stats to bring him so that he can lane. And in the meantime, they're adjusting his AD from 70 to 62 because for some reason, God knows why, he had the highest AD in the game at level 1 for no reason at all. I have absolutely no idea why he has the highest base AD in the game. But they're doing that, and they're hitting him with a lot of buffs. 60 HP, 3 armor, 2 MR, and a lot more MR growth. So all really good stuff, right? They're making so the dash speed of W is decreased and can no longer cast Grant Entrance or Flash during the first 0.5 seconds of the quickness. Okay. So I think Recon will be fine. 0.5 seconds of the quickness. So what ends up happening is you can still preemptively ult and then flash W. What Riot's trying to do is they're trying to extend the range that the opposing player can recognize that something shitty is about to happen or something crazy is about to happen. This guy is going to engage into you. I think Recon might actually be more playable for the average player after these changes because he can get through lane. And I already expressed how important laning was when I talked about this champion, right? Aatrox. So I don't necessarily think Recon's dead. I think people are used to the fact that he's so fluid. And it sucks that they break up that fluidity because they have to, because of how overtuned he was when they initially got released in. And I'm sorry for that. But for the rest of the player base who have to deal with that, it's super obnoxious. I'm happy for these changes. Overall, I think it's better for the state of the game for this to be the case. So I'm all for these type of changes. I don't know if this is enough to bring Recon like kind of more back in the middle of like not that great in pro, but still has uses, but better in solo queue. But we'll see. I definitely think laning buffs is what they needed. Oh wait, his W dash speed got increased. Holy shit! He got compensatory buffs for his quickness. Yeah, he'll be fine. I think this is actually better for Recon. Oh, in the long run. Damn. Okay. It just sucks that he can't be broken with his ulti W like before, but it's okay. Yeah, you could W flash R as well. Maybe the combo just changes, especially with the new move speed of W. Like maybe that just becomes the initial thing. But like most of the times before, it used to be like what, flash ulti W, right? All right, let's keep going. So I like what they're doing here. Great. Soraka, what the heck? Wait, this is such a big patch. So okay, Q cooldown haste adjusted, empowered here for allies and self-healing increased, E cooldown decreased, now skills, and damage decreased late. Damage decreased late, what? Soraka is going to be a bully to your enemies in lane, should manifest through healing supporting her ally to allow them to beat the pulp out lane and not by bullying down herself with non-uncounterable damage. We like that Soraka can contribute a measure of poke damage to her lane. We are happy with the fact that her Emax builds offer no real counterplay for opponents. I agree with this. I think she is super dominant in lane. Pretty much never lose lane until the jungler comes, and then I blame my jungler when I start feeding. For people who don't know, I played Soraka bot for a little bit because I was enamored with the champion because I'm strange. Anyways, she's a high poke damage bot laner that's super lane impressive until she gets ganked. We're taking this opportunity to make her QW combo more impactful and appreciable for a carry. So players utilizing her support nature instead of always playing her as aggressive. Okay, So they're increasing the cooldown to 8 to 4. Nerfs to level 1. Q, okay. The rejuvenation self-heal and the ally self-heal are increased by quite a bit. You get 60 more base and 0.1 AP scaling to yourself, and you get 30 more base and 0.1 AP scaling to your ally. Okay, so it's especially helpful for you to trade, because especially if you're putting points to it. Okay, initial ticks heal more than later ticks. Okay, that's definitely a buff because, well, actually, yeah, it's always better to front load the healing, unless sometimes you get in a weird situation where Ignite is falling off at the tail end and you want the healing there, but almost always front loaded is better. And then the damage it does is decreased by 10 to 30, and the rejuvenation movements. Oh, whoa. %30%, and it's decaying. That's a lot. 30% is a lot of move speed. W Astral Fusion shows the minimum cast health threshold. Okay. Equinox E. This is the biggest problematic thing where you just start spamming it. The mana cost increases. Cooldown goes down 4 seconds initially, and the damage goes down to 70. They didn't even nerf it that much. Wait, what? Oh, I guess they nerfed the. Okay, I copied builds from pro players who did Soraka bot. They didn't go more than 3 points in the E. They do 3 points EW max, usually, most of them. So for me, when I see these changes on E, I see these kind of as like whatever, right? Because it's actually a buff at level 1 for your E. So and then the only thing that kind of makes it interesting is the cooldown on her Q now. So you're giving a lot more incentive to put more points into Q than you were before. Maybe that just means is that you're just starting to max Q over E. And though getting hit with a 70 damage E, I guess, isn't as impactful as getting hit with 150. But usually what happens is the laning phase is over by this point. By level 5, you start putting points into other stuff. So you're at a 5 damage loss with a 2-second gain and a mana cost difference of 10. Soraka doesn't really change much from how she is on live. So like the way that I see it is that most Sorakas I know, and I copied Core's build. I don't know if he's changed it, but I would say Core's a pretty good support player. And he always put 3 points. Oh, wait. Actually, it's a 30 damage nerf. Sorry, I was looking at this. Man, 30 damage, I guess, is quite a bit. You get 30 damage nerf on E. And you're losing a couple seconds on Q if you decide to max E. These both are just quality of life buffs. It's not super important. I think they're nice. I like that this. Okay, let me put this out there. I think that this is a good change for Soraka, because I don't think it's healthy to have her being a premier poke champion with E max that's undodgeable and silences you. I think that that's just stupid. I like the fact that it's her power is tied around a more skill shot oriented thing like Q, and they're increasing the benefit of it, but they're not making her more oppressive early game because they're increasing the cooldown of Q to compensate so that you can get through the early level, like, because getting through, I would say, like levels 1 to 4 against Soraka is kind of the most painful thing ever. If you're against Soraka Caitlyn, good luck. You're at your tower the entire time you're at half health. So making her technically a little bit weaker early, but she gets a lot more benefit for hitting her Q, and I think that that's good. I think the baseline idea behind this adjustment is a good thing. So I like the fact that they're changing this around. I do think there needed to be a damage increase, mana increase for E. So this is all good. Now, what actually happens? I don't know if Q is super powerful enough to invest a lot of points into. It seems like it definitely feels like it's a lot better because her healing damages herself, right? When you're given 60 more base healing for every Q you hit at level 5 Q, or in lane it's going to be like 30 more healing at level 3 Q, that is a significant amount. The cooldown is the one thing that kind of scares me about this ability, starting at 8 instead of starting at lower, and it's really only matches at level 7 if you're maxing it, or so I like the idea of what they're doing. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but I do like Soraka being pushed more toward this. Cool. Tom Kench. What the they just touched every support. Okay. So Tom Kench is a problematic champion because the W negates half the champion's abilities in the game. Cool. So what are they doing? And his makes it so he's impossible to kill through it. So those are the two things. He also does a decent amount of damage, and he's really annoying to play against. Cool. So Devour does too much for basic ability, makes him a huge priority pick for pros, regardless of the state of the rest of his kit. True. Okay, so they're they're giving him a lot of base health. 10 more move speed is actually probably one of the biggest buffs you can give. For melee champions, move speed is just phenomenally good. It helps you space better, helps you get to places better, especially because a lot of the melee-oriented champions want to roam a lot. So move speed is an insane stat to buff. And their increases health by 60 at once. 60 is a ton. They're making it 1.5 at all levels, which is technically a buff past or before level 11, and it should just be a buff overall. Because realistically, like, your passive matters the most early in mid game. You won't be licking people a lot with your passive late game, unless you're a top laner. But even then, I think it's still not a big deal. Q slow duration got increased by 0.5. That's really good. Cooldown got they did the Soraka treatment onto his cooldown. The ton range got increasing is great. The slow percentage increased by 20%. So good. Oh my god. This all looks great. So now grounds and slows Tom, but holy shit, he cannot move, or he can't flash, and he's literally not moving when he devours an ally. Okay, 50% mana return when he devours an enemy champions. Okay, it's 100 base. Oh my god, the cooldown is down to 20 instead of 28, so they lowered the cooldown to adjust. The base minion spit damage got decreased when people weren't even using this. The enemy champion damage got, I think this is a nerf, 36% damage to 13% max damage and 240 base. I think this is a nerf against all but the squishiest champions. I have to double check because I this is just doing mental math, and I don't have a big brain. But this looks like bad. What else is this? The healing goes up by 5%. The shield goes up by 10%. No longer costs 50 mana. It's free. Oh, that's actually so good. It means you're able to use this on short trades all the time. And all your mana is invested into Q spamming pretty much. The Abyssal Void range got nerfed so much. Oh my god. Wait. Level 1 it went down 2,000 range. At level 3 it went up 2,000. An 8,500 range Abyssal Void. Is that fountain to mid to river? That's like found the blue buff, I think, is 8,500. I think found the wolf camp. Wow, that's a lot of range. But yeah, supports really don't reach level 16 much, so this is definitely a nerf. And they increased the cooldown. I think he definitely got worse. You play Kench not to save your ally now. You play Kench to kill people. This is the change in Kench. When you play Kench now, if you're not confident enough to all in flash at level 1, you shouldn't, like level 1 to 3, you shouldn't play the champion. Because of the buffs they gave you here, to where they're giving you 20% more slow and it lasts longer, you have to be like, you gotta be ready to go ham. Because you're no longer given the luxury of being able to just like use Kench as like a farming tool. Sure, the cooldown is long at the beginning, but like you're using the Q2 initially tag, so you can flash auto W and force their flash, right? I think this is a really interesting change. To be honest, it's probably generally a buff for top lane Kench. Not necessarily that there's a lot of people that play top lane Kench, but he's super impressive top lane. Like actually like disgusting. I think he hard counters a ton of melee champions, but he scales really poorly, so people don't really play him that much. I'm actually really shocked that they ended up nerfing Abyssal Voyage. I never thought that this was a huge problem of his, and they're willing to nerf his W to where he can't save his allies as much. I feel like he should just retain his ulti, but I guess that's not what Riot thinks. So generally speaking, this overall looks like a nerf to Kench. Because if you're looking to be like kind of an impressive poke slower, plus an ally saver, you're not playing this champion. You're playing like it feels like his niche was what he was good at, right? And he was too good at denying plays. And I get that. It's not a big deal. But now he's like, you play him into, I don't know, like he's probably only gonna be good into other melee lanes like he was before, but you would prefer to choose other melee champions, probably like Kench, for instance, or Taric, Braum, for instance, or Taric over Kench. I'm not sure what his actual play pattern looks like or what his actual role in it is in the game once his W gets nerfed. I think he's probably playable, but I have to see how impressive the buff to Q and the slight buff to E is. Alright, but for top lane, I think he's better. So if you play top lane Kench, rejoice. Your answers have been heard, or your prayers have been heard. Let's keep going. Akali. W extended duration of breaking visibly decreased, cooldown increased early. Yeah, her W is really problematic. So nerfing this, I'm all for it. I think Akali is probably still too good right now. Darius. Q healing and damage increase. We're improving Darius' conditions for success when he gets in the thick of the fight. So now he gets, wow, he gets 9% more healing on 3+ enemies. Holy shit. Okay, and he gets 10 more total AD. I mean, they could have just removed this. I mean, this isn't that important. This nice buff. The big thing about Darius is he's a champion that tends to be oppressive against certain AD matchups, but he's really oppressive into tanks. So the more popular tanks are, the better Darius is in the meta. I don't necessarily know if he needs that many more conditions for success in team fighting. It's more like right now he's not well suited when the best champions top lane are like Shojin users and bruisers that want to fight a lot. That aren't really Darius's cup of tea. He prefers big bodies. But yeah, that's a nice buff. Echo base damage increase, cost decrease at later ranks. I'm down for this. I think Echo is really weak right now. Every time I see an Echo, it's like free win. How I feel. And they have to outplay like significantly or get snowballed really, really bad to do stuff. So I'm all down for Echo. Shifter buffs, by the way. Agree with that. Hecarim, nerf the shit out of this champ, please. We like the Hecarim ramps up over the course of the fight. His latest buff enabled more bursty pop off type affair. So they're decreasing the bonus damage on his Q and they're making the minimum damage for his E and E charge lower. He's still gonna be good. Like literally, I'm reading this change, not good enough. He's still gonna be really, really good. Okay, Jarvan. Base health mana regen decreased. Wow. Okay. So they're cleaning up his base stats, which are all nerfs, by the way, but it's significant. It's not that significant. He now gains a lot less with W, and he has higher. So this is just a straight nerf all. Not super bad, to be honest. He's still going to be a great jungler, probably like a top 5 jungler, easy. But are nerfs overall. So of course, because I saw Hecarim and Jarvan nerfs, I'm gonna scroll down and see Rek'Sai nerfs, right? Like, there's no way. So I'm just gonna keep going. This nerf doesn't really do that much, so he's still gonna be great. Kennen, E bonus resistance is removed. Bonus resistance added to R. Oh, okay. Wow. So his Emax build covers his vulnerabilities too well. It kind of turns into like a mobile and high attack damage, or high consistent auto damage champion lane with Emax. Okay, I like that. I think it's reasonable. I don't necessarily know how bad it is for Kennen. Probably pretty bad. I don't play much Kennen. I don't know how much this impacts him. Obviously, it's a nerf, but maybe he needed it. I think he's a really oppressive top laner anyways, so I'm not too opposed to having some oppressive top laners get knocked down. Let's keep going. Kindred. Passive mark spawns later in the game. Okay. So that it could spawn on either scuttle randomly. Got it. So she's slightly nerfed because of this. Cool. Lissandra, W damage increased late. Okay. Aftershock nerfs are giving her a small bump in power. Ooh, that's a pretty good one. 20 base, 0.2 AP scaling. 0.2 is actually quite a bit. I haven't seen a Lissandra since her nerf. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. So I don't know how good she is. I'm assuming not very good. But if she can make it out of lane, maybe a W max build ends up coming back because it's more consistent damage. This seems pretty interesting. Maokai, Q base damage increased. He's underperforming, so we're giving him a little water and smidgen of sunlight to grow into a tree. He gets 5 to 25 base damage on his Q. Cool. Go for it. I've never seen this champion. I'm down for more buffs toward him. Morgana, E cooldown increase and shield strength decrease. Too strong even after it changes in 9-7. We're targeting a shielder this time, so our lane partner is more vulnerable, and she, when it's down. Okay, I think it's similar to Kench W. I kind of agree that Morgana E is very, very powerful. It does have a very long cooldown early, so it does have a trade-off, but I'm all down for this. Don't mess up your shield when you play Morgana. That's all I gotta say. Rek'Sai, base damage increase. Oh, here we go. I love to read nerfs. Okay, example that we were trying to quell a bit to her status of must pick for a role. Yes, so they nerfed her AD growth, her Q cooldown. Holy shit! Oh, her burrow Q cooldown. Oh, all right. Furious Bite minimum damage goes down by 5, and her empowered damage goes down by 10. Huh. Okay. On this current patch, I think everyone knows Rek'Sai, Hecarim are just broken champions, like straight up super good. Following that is Kindred, Jarvan as like god tier, S tier champions, okay? Or like right below the tier. And I saw all 4 of them get nerfed, and all 4 of them got like tapped on the wrist, pretty much. Like, bad boy. But like, Jarvan got nerfed the most out of all of these, but I would say the other 2 champions are way better. Or like, maybe not way better, but definitely better than him. So it's like, I am very confused that they didn't get nerfed harder. Like, maybe the 3-second Q on Burrow Prey Seeker is a big nerf. But for me, I feel like maybe the Hecarim nerf is the biggest one. But I think Rek'Sai is still going to be disgusting. Actually, I think none of these 4 champions or 5 champions fall from their like throne of being the top 5 junglers, and I think that kind of sucks because they're strong enough to start oppressing other jungle picks away. They're just that powerful. Maybe the AD decrease is bigger than I expect. We'll see. Shaco, sweeping lanes no longer reveals and immediately activates W. Oh, what? Wow, that makes it so you can't. You don't immediately activate. That's a pretty nice buff, honestly. You can't completely neutralize his stuff. I like this. I think it was a little easy to neutralize. Because like what happens is if you play against Shaco, you can just always keep a sweeper, and then when he jumped on you and placed the box, it would just not go off, right? Or it would not fear you. I think it's fair. Shen, I never see this champ. I'm pretty sure Shen's pretty bad. So they're increasing his attack speed ratio by 1%, giving him it's 18%, okay? Up to 18% over 18 levels. And he gets 0.03 bonus health scaling on his E. 0.03. They couldn't even give him a solid 0.1. Holy shit. Alright. Let's pull out our trusty calculator. So what kind of health does Shen have at level 1? Let's say high end in lane, he's at 700. And we times 0.12 with his current. He gets 84 damage additionally. With okay. So 700 times 0.15. It's only bonus health. Never mind. Wow. Okay, that's garbage. I thought it was total health. Okay, This is Riot telling Shen players that they didn't forget about you, but you're not worth their time. Have fun with the 1% attack speed growth. To be honest, this is probably like not bad because the way that Shen works is that he gets impact through his getting off his 3Q autos, but still it feels kind of bad. Like I would have preferred if they just added this and just didn't add this because this feels it's like a low enough impact thing where it feels like it's just bad that they see it in the game. Sylas, base Q damage or W damage increased. We stole a considerable amount of power from Sylas. Yes. Okay, so they increased his W. It seems like Sylas is just a poke. Like I don't like playing Sylas right now. Sylas turned from a scrappy, like mid lane bruiser that trades health for health and then out heals at the end, to a poke champion that only goes in when he lands a perfect chain combo and they're already low on health. Like it doesn't feel. It feels like you're playing like essentially like a mage style gameplay on a mage killing champion. And I'm not huge on his play style change after his last E nerf. All I'm saying. Volibear. Oh, so I was excited about the Volibear buffs. I knew this was coming in. I saw that they were going to buff Volibear. So they ended up buffing him. Ooh. 5% more. 15% more attack speed level 1. Okay. Okay. That's really good. Like 15% attack speed, I think pretty much anyone takes that, you know? So the thing about Volibear and what makes him relevant is that he's a very strong early game champion. So what ends up happening is if you nerf like his early game, which they nerfed his early game bite damage last time, he's like stopped being played. So he doesn't scale well after 2 or 3 items. So you have to make sure that like he's relevant in that regard because he's a very high snowballing champion if you can get him there. So I like this buff. Even though it's a simple buff, it really does help his clear speed as well as his skirmishing power. I'm all for it. Removed Hunter's Potion. Rest in peace to the one player in solo queue I saw buying this item. Mana Moon. Base damage increase. Bow down Ezreal mains. Nothing changes about Mana Moon. No one's gonna buy this item. Except for Ezreal. That's it, right? And Jace doesn't even buy this shit, dude. Like 10 damage is really nice, actually, but it's like let's just scrap the item at this point. Like make it more applicable to just one champion. Ashe VSX, Caitlyn, Jax, Renekton, cool. Aftershock. This rune isn't okay. So Aftershock is really problematic because it gives free defensive runes on a lot of champions too early in the game, even if you're not really a tank champion. So what are they doing? They're making it so bonus armor, bonus magic resist. So it only scales for tanks now. And the problem with this is that it's still too good at level 1. Like, even if you're not a tank, you still might consider picking it up because 70 flat is too much to start with at the very beginning. Like if they were really serious about this, they should have done something like 50. Because mages and top laners or like mages and bruisers are still gonna take this at 70. 70 is a ton of armor and mar. If you told me this rune only gave me 70 the entire game, I'd still consider taking it because it's great. Like 70 is just too much to give at level 1. I really would have liked to see them nerf that more. That's it. Not enough. Minor rune tuning. Okay, bone plating got buffed. I don't think it needed to be buffed. I think it's still pretty good, honestly. Bone plating is the all-in thing. It competes with second wind, the poke thing, and it has second wind, the 10 armor and mar thing, which is the greedy thing that you want to take if you are ultra greed lord. Okay. I think that tree is pretty balanced. I don't necessarily know if bone plating need to be buffed again. I'll be honest. Celerity. We're pulling back on Celerity's niche status. More players use it broadly. All movement speed bonuses are 10% more effective. 1% movement speed plus all movement speed are. Alright. So I went on record saying I thought Celerity was one of the worst runes in the game. And even the best case scenario Celerity users like Hecarim, Predator Hecarim, would not want to use this rune because it gives you like 10 move speed, 15 move speed max. So I wasn't really happy about Celerity in the first place. Now you're telling me I can get 1% move speed and but lower effectiveness, and you want me to be happy about 1%. 1% at 400 move speed, which is the most common move speed number to give people, is 4 extra move speed. So I am very underwhelmed with Celerity. And the problem with Celerity is it's super hard to balance because move speed when in the game is one of the most valuable things to get and one of the hardest things to itemize for because you can only get move speed through boots. So back when Celerity was broken, everyone used it. Now it just feels like they're trying to make it work, but 1% is way too low. At 2% or 3%, we can talk. We can actually talk. I'm not even kidding. But 1%, I don't think it does anything. And Zeal items, sure, whatever. Cheap shot. 10 to 48 based on level. No one's going to use this rune. I'm going to be honest. I think the only people who use this rune are bot lane Zyro players. But aside from that, I think Feast is just way too good. The second thing, it's not called Feast. It's called something else. But the healing version in the middle actually needs to be nerfed. More than likely. Taste for Blood. Yeah, Taste of Blood is way too good. So I think Cheap Shot gets use on like 3 champions total because they can't use the healing one. But for the most part, I don't think this really matters. But okay, you can buff it, not a big deal. I think the more problematic thing in this tree is the healing thing for sure. Conditioning, what we were just talking about before, you get 9 bonus on armor, and magic resistance instead of 8. Still probably won't be used because you just buff bone plating. So why would, like, 10 minutes into the game is already half won or lost by 10 minutes. And the game is like almost 100% won and lost by 20. So when half of the game period is like you at having a rune page that does nothing for you, no one's going to take that unless they're super greedy players for the most part. Now shows how much damage next to the polish, sure. Ghost Portal additionally grants 2 adaptive when the Ghost Portal spots an enemy. Ooh. Makes it better because I remember using Ghost Portal having an extremely hard time stacking it. It literally to the 20-minute mark it still wasn't fully stacked. So I think that makes it easier to stack to get adaptive force. And that's all it does. I think Ghost Portal is okay. I thought it would be really OP, but it just took too long to stack. And I just got lazy. I think it's actually still fairly good, but like I just don't use it because it's super lazy. Magical footwear. Its own beast that outperforms every other option by a large margin. Yes, because it gives you plus 10 move speed on boots. And for free, which is like a 350 gold value or something else crazy. It's still viable. It goes to 12 minutes. Okay. Okay. I like the nerf. I think magical footwear is nuts. Inspiration tree is just insane right now. Relentless Hunter, out of combat movement speed, it goes to 10 plus 9 per stack. Okay, I think that's good for junglers who are taking the red tree. And Scorch is a little bit better. I think that's fine. I remember back when Scorch was super broken with Airy and Scorch doing like 150 damage at level 1 on the first hit that you took. Now that they nerfed Airy and Scorch a lot, I think it's okay to reintroduce Scorch at a little bit better value because, to be honest, it's kind of weak right now. Ulti Hunter now does up to 25%. Generally speaking, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, Ulti Hunter is one of the largest bait runes in the game. The idea for most people is like, wow, I can ulti more, so it's better. But in reality, the value of the healing on the first one is just worth way more overall because it allows you to stay topped off for fights, allows you to like trade better, allows you to just be like, it's just so much more impact than 20% ulti, with the exception of if you're playing something like Karthus or Pike. So buffing this rune, I think, was pretty much expected down the line. I think at 25%, it has some sort of value. I can definitely see myself taking on more champions than just Karthus. Rift Scuttle. Okay, this is the biggest thing in the patch. They talked about this. They warned us about this. Jat is the person to talk to if this thing goes south. I want to put that name out right now, so you know exactly who to flame on Twitter if you don't like this change. So this let me talk a little bit about Scuttle. So Scuttle is, in my opinion, one of the worst things to happen in the game for me personally. And the reason is because I like to play, let's not say non-meta. I like to play interesting, different champions. Champions that not a lot of other people are playing, because I tend to enjoy champions that are weaker but provide more enjoyment through other abilities. The problem with these weaker champions, and what makes a champion good typically right now, is that they need to have, they're impactful all the games, like the entire duration of the game usually, and they're pretty good at laning. And they can give you pressure through laning. All the off-meta or different picks are generally picks that can't contest these picks in a laning facet until later levels. Usually they require more levels or more items before they can look to contest. So they tend to take longer to hit their spike, which is why they're not played as much, because they're just not as good. So the problem with that is that when you introduce Scuttle, which requires your jungle is now, effectiveness is now tied to your laners on level 2, it starts being super problematic to play these champions, because I feel like you're forced into this sandbox of playing like these 12 or 10 champions, or else you're griefing your team. And I'm just at the point where like I don't play those champions, and I just feel bad for my jungler sometimes when he needs me to help contest it, but because I'm playing something that can't pressure level 2, I just get shoved in, and my jungler just gets pissed at me, and then everyone gets pissed at the jungler, and it's just this match where everyone's just angry. I think that forcing the lane, I guess, interaction with the jungle to be so tied so early into the game causes a really, really bad problems in the game. In a sense, not even just like on paper problems of like I can't play certain champions without priority. It's more problems of like just like mental attitude problems, because the game is already, I think what you generally want to have a lot of individualism when you're playing this game. Like your impact should be felt every game. A lot of times, and what they wanted at the very beginning of the preseason, they're like, we want predetermined games to be over quicker, and the ability to come back to be better. But it feels like with Rift Scuttle, they actually went the opposite direction, where it's like, sure, you may be able to come back from games, but no one is enjoying. The reason you're coming back is because the enemy team like gave you a free Baron, right? Because they coin flipped the Baron, just like you're coin flipping to see if your teammates are assisting you on these, or are picking champions that can assist you on these Rift Scuttles. Like no one's enjoying the game up until the comeback, and after the comeback happens, you're not really even happy the comeback happened, because it's like it wasn't worth it for you. Because what happens is people get pissed off at each other at the 2-minute mark, because the champions they play and the interaction is so early in the game, it feels like you're not able to even play the game before some shit happens where you're like, well, we lost or we won. Or like commonly when you watch my stream, I'm like, okay, we lost. I need to farm for 10 more minutes, or like I guess we're just gonna wait for them to mess up. And I feel like I shouldn't be saying that so early in the game. Like at the 2:30 mark, it should not be the time where I'm declaring the game is over. But it feels that way, and that's because of Scuttle. So then pushing back the Scuttle later, for me at least as a laner, I think is, and for me overarching on the state of the game, I think it's only a good thing. It lets you, I think it makes it so that you're able to play different types of whatchamacallit, laners that don't have priority super early, and that it's a little bit easier for you to get away with these picks. I like that you don't have to interact with the jungler super early either, so that I can feel a little bit better about my laning phase before it's like just turns to complete like chaos. And the only thing I have to say about this change is the fact that I think that maybe it might be a little bit weaker for the junglers. And I know what you're thinking. Who has pity on junglers? These guys deserve it. Yada. And maybe I'm worried that like I generally think that the junglers should be above the dual lane in XP, but behind the solo laners. And maybe it's going to be hard to do that. I read Jat's breakdown in Rift Scuttle, where generally speaking, if you're farming, you're going to be even level as before, or maybe even a little bit higher, because the Rift Scuttle that spawns is now a higher level as well. So I think the crazy thing that can happen is that the Rift Scuttle changes the jungle meta completely to where you need to be playing a jungle that can clear up until the 350 mark. You want someone that can clear at the bare minimum like 5 camps quickly and be in position until 315. This also opens up, like, I guess, interesting counter jungle opportunities as well, to be able to like maybe contest these kind of things early. But on junglers who were level 2 dependent, you couldn't. But there's a lot of junglers that kind of unlock themselves at level 3, stuff like Elise, even stuff like I mean, Xin Zhao is obviously good at level 2 as well. And some champions tend to fall off from 2 to 3 as well. Like Pantheon gets weaker from the level 2 spike onwards, right? So I think that this is good for the state of the game. For junglers, I'm a little bit worried because maybe it forces a jungle meta to be very farm oriented the first 3 minutes into a scuttle, and if you don't get the scuttle, like, they're gonna be pissed. Like, all the junglers are gonna start flaming again. But realistically, that doesn't really change what happens to me right now. So I think this is only a good thing for the game and maybe a bad thing for the jungle. But it might be that the jungle at least becomes more dynamic, because one of the bad things about the scuttle meta right now is it's very rigid. Like, it feels like all the routes are kind of predetermined. You could do some funky stuff like Camille Jarvan pathing over the dragon or Baron wall to go buff to buff and try to cheese them that way, but for the most part, the routes are like, if you're a stronger jungler, you do 2 camps double scuttle, and if you're not the stronger jungler, then you do, like, you try to take a scuttle away from this two route path and hope you don't get cheesed, right? So I think it might cause a lot more fluidity in the jungle, which could be more skill expressive. Because I think a lot of times the jungler just wants to prove that they're the dominant jungler. They want to prove they're the dominant player. And when you're doing that in the jungle, like, it means that, like, you're counter jungling well, you're like in their face. I don't know if you can do that as much on the current patch, especially with vertical jungling being, like, so prominent. But maybe on this situation with the Rift Scuttle being pushed back a bit, like, you could set up the game pace to be a little bit more like that. I want to talk a lot about this because I think this is by far the biggest change in the patch. My thoughts about this is that it is a good thing for the game overall. Maybe a bad thing for the jungle a little bit. That was it. That's all of it. There's Conquer Alistar skin. Looks cool. He's big and beefy. And my general thoughts on this patch is that I expected a little bit more nerfs onto certain junglers. I am surprised by how much supports got changed. We're essentially saying that they changed three supports hugely, or like decently, and then Blitz kind of got a little love tap, and then they hard changed Aatrox. But you never really see, like, for me, I would have liked to see maybe more basic simple buffs toward weaker oriented champions. I know Amumu got a buff last patch, which I'm very happy for, but I would have liked to see it onto any of the weaker champions that don't see much play. I love, for instance, I love the Shen buff. I would have liked the Shen buff to be more than this. I love the Volibear buff because I think that really does help him. And so I would like to see a world where we start bringing these super OP champions down and, like, kind of propping up some of the weaker ones. Oh yeah, Conquer is still a problem. I don't know how they're gonna address that, and they didn't really fix Aftershock, so that's kind of bad. I give this patch, without the Rift Sculptor, probably like a 6. With the Rift Sculptor, I think it's like an 8. I think the Rift Sculptor change is actually such a big deal, and I'm really excited to play the game when it comes in. I think it's super important, really, really important for the game. But you know, I could be completely wrong. Like, comment, and subscribe, please. Is that how I say it?